there, everyone. Welcome back down the hobby hole. I know that it's been a long time. I sound like I'm about to cry.
Terrified.
I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. We're here. We're back. A podcast about hobbies, interests. You say I didn't say weekly podcast. A podcast about hobbies, interests, and hyperfixations. Sometimes our own and sometimes discovering new ones. I'm your host, Daniel Rustage, musician, dungeon master, card game designer, man of many hobbies and interests, and I'm always joined by my co-host and best friend, Shwabadi.
Hi, it's me. I'm all of what he said, but just like a little bit different.
In his own special way. He's like a Galarian regional variant of me.
Yeah.
Which is very fun. I'm sorry that we haven't done this in a long time. I've just been very busy with traveling and all of my other things. But we didn't forget about it.
No, we've been talking about it constantly.
It will always come back, much like a tumor?
I hope not.
Much like a malignant tumor, we will always be here. Today we're talking about something that I'm quite passionate about now, and it's something that I've only gotten into this year. And that is professional wrestling, sort of more specifically the WWE, though I will mention others. Mark as well has he's not privy to
all things. I have been dragged along, kicking and screaming. No, I've been gently introduced to it as well. Obviously, I mean I was familiar with wrestling as a kid more than anything, and now I'm sort of being reintroduced into the world of the SmackDown and the Raw.
And the SmackDown and the Raw. I want to talk about this from the perspective of someone who might not be into wrestling first, because this is the viewpoint. This will be quite interesting to both new people and people who are already into it, because this is the viewpoint of somebody who has never consumed WWE in their entire life. I've not even a little bit, right? Zero knowledge, and I have gotten into it hard in 2024. It's like the 2024 WWE experience. And I will say, if you've never been into WWE or wrestling or anything, hopefully this will convince you to like give it a try, because I didn't think I would be into it, and I love it. It's so much fun. Let me explain how I got into it. I was March of this year. I think I was in Korea. And I was just getting ready in the morning, and I put on the TV. I on Twitter it was like, oh, WrestleMania is happening, which is their big show that they do, the WWE, and because of how time zones work out, it meant that it was broadcasting in the morning in Korea, and I think I had Peacock, or I had something that meant I had it for free. I could just put it on TV. I didn't have to pay for anything. So I was like, you know what? Why not? I'll throw it on. And what was me supposed to get ready in like 30 minutes, I ended up sitting there for like an hour just like engrossed. And it was this, now I know in hindsight, this huge match. For people who know, it was the Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns match where Cody Rhodes finally won the title. And like John Cena comes in and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson comes in, and the Undertaker comes. It's like a whole bunch of stuff happens that like it's like the Avengers. And that's my first ever match I've ever watched.
What an introduction.
And I'm like, holy shit, this is incredible. I was like, you know what? I already own this thing that it's all on. When I get back home, I'm just going to watch, the Monday show. And then that following Monday show, they do this thing called the draft, I think, where they pretend it's a real sport, where they each of the brands draft wrestlers to the company. But for me, it was a really good way of being like, oh, I get to learn who these people are, because they do a little introduction for each of them. So it was like, oh, this is incredible. And I'll admit, like the first like month of watching, it was like a second monitor viewing. I would have it on whilst I would be like playing a game or doing something else. But the longer it was on, the more and more I was getting like really interested and involved in it, because what it is fundamentally is it's a real-time soap opera. Right? Like that exists. It's such a unique media form that exists in our reality and in our time scale. And I'm a sucker for stories that can only be told in specific media forms. There are some stories that can only be told via books. There's some stories that can only be told via video games. And wrestling is like, these stories can only really be told in WWE. because it's like half reality, half not. It's like a fictional sport thing, and I think that's just so enticing and genuinely incredible. And I just want to give an example of how stories can be affected by reality, and it plays in like the big one that everybody talks about is there was this wrestler called Roman Reigns, and this is like 5 years that I'm TLDRing, who was this like he was being pushed by the management of the time to be this like big face of the company, like a John Cena, like he's like a good guy, right? But so he keeps winning all of his matches, and over time people got really annoyed that he kept winning all of his matches, so people would like boo him, or like they wouldn't give him any sort of record, they would give no noise or anything. They just didn't care about him because he was boring. But instead of the management being like, we're going to continue to push this guy as a good guy and ignore the fans, or just like giving up, they were like, well, people don't like him, so what if we made him into a villain? And so they completely 180'd him, and he became this villainous character that like was like, yeah, you guys got to acknowledge me, I'm the best, yada yada. And now everybody loves him because he works so much better as a villain. And that wouldn't happen if it was like a TV show that's just like a thing that's written and put out, because it plays off reality. And that's the sort of thing that makes wrestling so special outside of the actual wrestling stunts itself.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
When I got into wrestling, like as a kid, it was very much just I only cared about the big matches in the ring. I would watch what I could on TV of like as soon as they were in the ring fighting, I was locked in. The second it was anyone talking into a microphone, anything backstage, anything at all, I was like, fuck this. I
love those moments.
Coloring book or whatever. Now as an adult, that's the bit where I'm like, oh, this makes it interesting because it makes the matches have a reason to exist.
Makes them have like a meaning. And then in terms of the matches themselves, it's just like incredible stunt work. It's like super entertaining, especially if you suspend your disbelief for a little bit and you get into it. It's like the storytelling, the way that they use wrestling moves to tell a story. And I think a good example of that is quite recently, and this is in the grand scale of things something very small, but there's these two wrestlers I really like called Andrade and Carmelo Hayes, and they've been having like wrestling matches against each other. They're like 6 deep, right? They've had 6 matches, and all of them are good, but there's a story being told where they're like learning each other's moves, that like you're on match 6 and a guy will do a move and it gets countered, but the original guy knows that he knows his move, so tricks him and does a counter back, and it's like, holy shit, like what's going on? And it's genuinely impressive stuff. I mean, they train really hard, and the moves that they pull out is, especially when you watch it in person, which we have, it's like jaw-dropping sometimes. Yeah,
some of the shit that they do as like the top rope stuff and everything, or like you get like the super acrobatic stuff where they're like on the other person doing some flips and shit, and you're like, what is going on? How is this possible? But I just remember like the first time I saw Rey Mysterio do like the Hurricanrana as a kid. I think that's the name of it, like his signature where he just like wraps himself around them and then like ends up flinging them, and I'm like, she blew my mind.
It's mental, and it's always not just how well the wrestler does the move, but it's also how well the other wrestler like reacts to the move and sells the move. Because there's some wrestlers that are so good at that, where somebody will do like a slam into the mat, where if you didn't do anything, you just sort of lay there. Some people genuinely like they bounce like it's a video game. And I'm like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And there's what I also love is that it's I sometimes with like media, like TV shows or anything, it takes a lot of effort to consume. I know that's a weird thing to say, but I get really invested in like like something like Breaking Bad is going to stress me out. But like wrestling has that same appeal that just watching a sport does, where it's like it's low energy entertainment, but it's still engaging and entertaining constantly. And I feel like that's just a nice thing to have. It feels comfortable.
Yeah.
In that way.
Well, that makes sense to me.
And the benefit for me as well is because I've only gotten into it this year, there's a lot of like, I have the same spent the same amount of time with like uber 20-year popular wrestlers as I have with wrestlers that have just debuted this year. So to me, someone like Randy Orton occupies the same, who's like this, he's been around for 20 plus years, incredible, world-renowned wrestler, is just as important to me as somebody like Ilya Dragunov, who was debuted this year in WWE, despite he was in NXT. Like, I like Dragunov more, right? Because he's done more cool shit to me personally. And I think that's the thing about it. It never feels like it's too late to get into something like WWE, where with some stories, like, you know, tell someone to get into One Piece, they've got to read a whole bunch.
Right.
But you can just start watching WWE now. They will recap what's going on. Stuff will happen. There will be some things you're a little bit confused on, but then you will be able to enjoy it. You don't need the 20 years of history because things are happening in the now, right? And at the end of the day, even if you don't know what's going on, two guys fighting.
It's just two guys. just two guys battering each other. Sometimes it's like four guys battering each other. It's great. Sometimes there's a ladder. Sometimes they're tied to each other. Some of the special matches they do are hilarious.
Oh my god, it was, as we're recording this, it was Bad Blood recently, where they do a thing called a Hell in a Cell match, which is where they can't escape, they can't be disqualified, so they just fucking kill each other, and they're just like bleeding, and I'm like, bro. In terms of like, it does remind me, the similar talking point, WWE is great, but there are alternatives as well. There's the second biggest one, their rival, is called AEW, and AEW is a lot more like wrestling focused as opposed to like storyline focused, at least from my experience. You know, that might be a controversial thing to say. And they had a Hell in the Cell match recently that I watched, and it was horrific, and genuinely made me terrified for my life. Like I just couldn't watch because they had a actual cinder block, like, and they were just fucking doing slams into it, and then they're getting shards of wood that were stabbing into each other. But the most horrific thing is what happened at the end, where it's like all of this stuff seems like really generic, hitting people with objects, they're bleeding, it's awful, there's glass, whatever. At the end, one of the wrestlers pulls out a syringe with some sort of mysterious liquid in it and injects the other one in their gums and fully injects that liquid into them. Like, I don't know what's in it. You know, in story, poison probably. I was like,
that's hilarious.
Like, I get hitting people with like bats, but injecting them with like a syringe, like forcing their mouth open and that's fucked. That's fucked. I was like, I can't watch this.
Chemical weaponry in wrestling is hilarious. That's insane.
So, live shows. I have been to 3. I'm going to do them chronologically, and we'll get to Bash in Berlin, where you can talk about your experience at Bash in Berlin. But I will talk about them chronologically. I've been to 3. I've been to Clash at the Castle, SummerSlam, and Bash at Berlin. What these are what they call PLEs, which are the big events. So they have a weekly show every week, or 2 weekly shows every week. And then they sort of culminate to, they're kind of like season finales, where they do a big show at an event, which if you're watching online, I think a lot of the times you have to just you pay extra for this big show. It has no adverts, it's just its own thing. And it's usually the result of big storylines. And they've been doing a lot of them over abroad. So they did one in Glasgow, Scotland, and you know, that's close enough to me. I took a train up and I went to go see it. And I met up with my friend of the podcast, Megaran, as he was there. And the first 2 or 3 matches, I was sitting quite, high up because getting closer tickets are expensive. I was just I wasn't really sure. I'm sure this is fine. I was next to 3 people who were maybe the most, I don't know what the word is. They did not look like they wanted to be there. They were, they were watching. They were so grumpy the whole time and not reacting to anything. But the first few matches, watching it live is this incredible. It's a weird experience because there's a lot of stuff you don't see on camera, like the cameras, and they also when they come out, you forget that they're so far away. And there's all of this, but then in terms of the actual stunts, they're way more impressive in person. But about halfway through, Megaran sends me a message. He's sitting right near the front because he's like friends with wrestlers. He's done stuff with them. And he said that the seat right in front of him is completely empty. Nobody sat in it. So he's like, oh, come, nobody will notice. Come and sit here. And I'm like, oh, if you're sure, Mega Ran. So I come down, I sort of get into that lower area and I sit in front of him. And what I quickly realize is the reason why that seat is empty is because that entire row was booked out for one of the wrestlers' family, one of the Scottish wrestlers. And the reason that seat is empty is because they have really small children that they were sitting on their laps as opposed to sitting in their seat. So I'm sitting in this row of, I think it's Isla Dawn, if anybody knows Isla Dawn of Unholy Union. It's Isla Dawn's family. And once I realized this, I'm like, holy shit, they're gonna, tell me to move. I'm gonna be kicked out. But once they came back to their seats, they were all incredibly nice to me, and just started talking to me about like their daughter and wrestling, and it was such an incredible experience. And like, so shout out Isla Dawn's family. I think I talked to her mum and her aunt, and. I was like sitting next to Isla Dawn's mum the whole time, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so nervous," and I'm like, "This is incredible." And when you're that close, the moves and it's insane. And afterwards, we went back to one of the hotels that Mega Ran knew all the wrestlers were staying at, because he has that insider knowledge. And you get to see a whole bunch of them come into the rooms, and obviously they're not trying to talk to anybody, which is fine. I wasn't trying to, disrupt them. But when I got into the elevator to go up to the rooms, I'm going to say names. There's a wrestler called Chad Gable who also got into the elevator on a different floor. And so I had a lovely little conversation with the wrestler Chad Gable, who I really like. And he's like, at the time, he was like a big asshole in the ring. Like, he's like this abusive father type, like abusive. And I was like, you're doing great. I hope you're enjoying yourself. Which is what I said. And he said, yeah, man, I'm having the most fun I've ever had wrestling. This is awesome. And I'm like, great. And I didn't ask for a photo or anything.
Yeah.
And I just left. I was like, whoa. And that was my general experience at Clash of the Castle. It was it was really good. And then we did SummerSlam when I was in America, which is a lot different. SummerSlam was like way less. It's huge, 60,000 person American football stadium. I was so much further back, but the SummerSlam was definitely, in terms of the actual stuff that happened in ring, my favorite show of the year. And then we went to Bash of Berlin. We went to Bash of Berlin,
which was incredible.
Which was awesome. Do you want to talk about Bash of Berlin?
Yeah, sure. We were like pretty close to the ring. We had really good seats.
Yeah.
And I mean, I knew like maybe two wrestlers when we went to watch it. I knew Randy Orton. I knew Rhea Ripley. That's like it. But you get so quickly attached to sort of like their characters and stuff. Just from like, you see, like, they show you the videos obviously that recaps things that have been happening. And then like you see them in the ring. Like, they play the characters so well that you get so attached to like the story of that match very quickly. So I was immediately just like instantly had people that I was rooting for, and I was really attached to the outcomes of the match. So I just got like so into it, and I think like it would be the same if I saw it on TV. I think I would still have that like quick attachment, but seeing it in person is very different.
It was incredible. I think you didn't know who Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair was specifically, and that was the one that you immediately were like,
I was like, these two incredible. Rock. Oh
they
my
were
God.
so good. They were so good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every match of that, and the German crowd was great, and we got recognized by a fan.
Oh yeah, by a fan.
He like saw us across and then came up to us.
That's incredible. And we got yelled at. Maybe this is a good platform to ask this question, because we have viewers.
Yeah. So
any German viewers, explain this to us, because maybe we made some sort of cultural faux pas.
Yeah.
The Ring General. Yeah. The Ring General.
Yes. Gunther. He's one of my favorites. He's this Austrian
comes out
guy
for his match against Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Austrian guy. He's like a big hometown hero for the Germans because, I don't know, I guess he's their neighbor.
Yes.
But he comes out and, you know, it's like playing his theme song. He's got this big coat on. He's all like very military. And me and Daniel, we stood up and we just like, we salute.
We just
like,
like
the
normal
general.
salute, like regular salute. Like,
super normal salute.
Normal salute. Like, you
the
know,
most normal regular
finger
salute.
to forehead, normal salute. We're doing it.
One of these, like, general.
Yeah.
And this woman in front of us turns around and starts trying to... I couldn't really hear what she was saying. It was very loud music. But she was basically saying just like, don't do this. Don't do that. I'm like, why?
It's like, no, you cannot salute.
You can't do salute. You can't do that. You can't do that.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, I understand.
Yeah.
There are certain salutes you can't do in Germany.
Definitely.
But I thought you could do a normal one.
I thought that's okay.
Yeah, it's just a regular salute.
But apparently not. We got yelled at for that. So maybe German viewers can explain what our
faux pas here was.
Yeah.
He's great. I like Gunther a lot. Ludwig Kaiser. Like, you know, if I just start listing my favorite wrestlers, most of them are European. It's so much fun. You do genuinely get so attached to them, and they have such a fun variety of characters.
Yeah.
On different scales of stuff. Because you have, like, the generic American hero, like Cody Rhodes.
Can I talk about Cody Rhodes?
Yeah, talk about
Cody Rhodes is so funny to me, because when we first watched wrestling together, it was
the King of the Ring tournament. Yeah.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We didn't go to Saudi Arabia. Sorry, we watched it on TV.
We watched it. Yeah.
And we were watching that, and you were like, "Oh, Cody Rhodes is going to come out. He's like the hero. He's like the guy." I was like, "Oh shit, okay, Cody Rhodes." And he comes out, and he just looks like the most stereotypically evil cunt I've ever seen in my life. He looks like Homelander.
Yeah, everyone says he looks like Homelander.
And I was like, this guy looks like a villain. He looks like a Nazi, like that they would cast in a movie to play like that, evil.
He's very Orion.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my god, like this is the guy everyone's rooting for. And then like 10 seconds in the match, I was like, okay, never mind, I get it.
Yeah, I get it.
He's incredible. He's like such a good guy.
Yeah.
I love the way that he plays his role. It's great.
Yeah. He might turn into a villain soon.
That would be so good.
Yeah, he's recently teamed up with Roman Reigns, his old rival, and he's upset some of his friends because of it, because Roman Reigns beat them up in the past. It's complicated lore storytelling.
There's a narrative.
There's a narrative.
You guys should watch it.
You guys should check it out. But yeah, you got those like generic American heroes. I guess John Cena used to be like that as well.
Right.
But then you have such a variety, I think, of fun characters. There's some smaller. I say smaller wrestlers who aren't in like the main scene. One's like Chelsea Green, which you wouldn't have seen, but she's like, I don't even know how to describe her, but she's hilarious. She's like snobbish, stuck up, like Valley Girl kind of vibe. And she recently had a dumpster match where she came in dressed like she was
Sorry, what's a dumpster match?
Let me explain. So a dumpster match is the objective. They hadn't done one in like 10 years, apparently. The objective is there's a giant like garbage dumpster, like rubbish bin. And to win, you have to get your opponent inside that and then close the lid on top of them. Yeah. So they had, but there's also no disqualification as well, so they can hit each other with things, which a lot of them are, unless they're regular. And she came in dressed like a garbage disposal person, but like she had like a dress made out of trash bags, and it was incredible.
Incredible, yeah.
And she was wearing gloves and everything, and she lost because she's the villain. And then she's like covered in garbage, and for the rest of the show, anytime she was backstage, people were just making fun of her for how much she smelled in a way that like that sounds like the simplest like plot line, like that's baby TV, but they execute it so well, like the amount of people that and they really oversell it as well, to the point where it's just I don't know, it's cinema. It's
cinema. Guys,
listen,
I believe you.
She stink really bad. It's cinema.
She's smelly.
They had like somebody faint. Like they had somebody come up with a cake and go, "Wow, my cake smells really bad." No, wait, that's you. Like, like I'm saying, it's really over the top. It's so good. It's so fun.
I think the WWE has like a lot of like unintentional comedy, but its intentional comedy is also really great.
Good. This is the thing.
It's so good.
It's just fun. It's just fun.
It's fun.
That's the important thing about the WWE and wrestling is it's joy, it's whimsy, it's fun. If you don't take it too seriously, just enjoy it, have a good time. It's fun, and we need more things in our lives that are fun and enjoyable. And that's what this podcast is about.
That's what this podcast is about.
It's about having fun and enjoying yourself. So go check out WWE if you haven't already. I don't know if this has convinced you to go see it, but it's a lot of fun. Oh gosh, it's just fun. They have other.
We should be sponsored. They should pay us.
Every episode we got to be sponsored.
Every episode, whatever we're talking about should pay us because we do. I feel like we do such a good job of convincing people to get into those things.
Yeah, I know. Have we, or would we ever do a episode about just a hobby we hate? Yeah, let's do an anti-hobby haul.
We haven't.
What's something that we hate?
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
Like, what is something that we just genuinely dislike doing? Because a lot of things we try, we do end up enjoying. It's just...
Yeah.
The things we dislike the most, I feel like we're neutral on in terms of, like, activity. What's something you've got to tell me? There must be something in your, like...
Well, like, the first thing I thought of was, like, you know, like exercise, going to the gym. But, like, I don't like doing that, but I recognize its benefit and would encourage people to do it. So I'm not going to do, like, a anti-podcast where I'm like, nobody exercise. This shit sucks.
We could do it if you got more specific, like... We do a hobby hole because we're gonna do a hobby hole on like specific anime that we like. We could do it about specific anime that we hate.
Yeah. We just need like one episode where we're just hateful.
Yeah, that'd be great. Leave your suggestions in the comments below.
Leave your suggestions for things that you hate.
Yeah, and then we can do that. Do you know one extra thing I want to talk about with wrestling? When I was in Cleveland, we went to Cleveland for SummerSlam. One of the wrestlers, Sami Zayn, which I think you might have seen wrestle, not live.
I saw him.
On the King of the Ring thing. Yeah. He did a stand-up comedy show the night before SummerSlam, and I went to it, and it was. Low-key, you were not allowed. They pouched your phone, so you couldn't take pictures or record or anything. So you couldn't leak it, and it was surprisingly really fun. You could tell it was weird because he's like a super mega star in terms of WWE. But when he was doing the stand-up comedy show, it felt like going to like an amateur Edinburgh Fringe show. Like it was funny and it was good, but you could tell it's like this is like his third time doing it.
Yeah,
and I just think it just endeared me to him so much more that now when he's wrestling, I'm like, get him! Come on, Sami Zayn!
I love that. That's so good.
He told lots of fun, like, behind-the-scenes stories with wrestling as well. And, like, wait, maybe I'm not even allowed... I might not even be allowed to say it.
Oh.
No, maybe it's exclusive. You don't go watch his stand-up comedy show.
Yeah, you got to go watch it, guys.
You got to watch his stand-up comedy show. No, he had lots of good bits.
One person who I think is great for the WWE is Logan Paul.
Sorry, it's just the pause. Yeah, he worked. Okay.
Because obviously he goes into the WWE as like as a person who is
everybody hates,
pretty much unanimously reviled, right? So he works instantly as a great villain character, someone to root against, easy fodder. But he is also undeniably incredibly athletic.
Yeah.
So he has all of like the physical stuff to impress people in the ring and make it worth watching.
Yeah. So at SummerSlam, seeing LA Knight beat Logan Paul was incredible. There is besides the obvious things that he's Logan Paul, ignoring all that, there is a big issue is that it's not his full-time job. It becomes a little bit difficult to have him involved in like the storylines and stuff because he's only there every so often. So when he was the US champion, like, he didn't defend his title very often because he just wasn't there. Like, he was only there, like, once a month as opposed to every week like everybody else was. And so it sort of almost holds that title hostage a little bit. You couldn't have, like, the fun in-betweens. Whilst now LA Knight has the title, he's already defended it more times than Logan Paul has in, like, a month. which is really good. But, yeah, I agree. I think he works as a good villain because he's an awful person. So... So it just works.
It's like just having someone transition from just the real world into that like semi make believe narrative. It's just a very smooth transition, very easy for them, very good.
I will say a lot of the villains in WWE are really good. They have such a variety of them as well. So there's Dominic Mysterio is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Rey Mysterio's son. He's a villain because he's like a snarky kid that like says his dad's deadbeat, and he's really good at making people pissed off at him. Yeah, because he's like really annoying, but like really good at it, and I love him. He's so fun.
So quickly.
You've barely seen him. You saw one match of him, and I've
seen
him
with
him.
One match, and then like one little interview thing to the side, and I'm like, oh fuck this guy.
Great. But he's so funny. They had a match where they had to put him in a cage over the top, and they have this incredible bit where he like quote unquote picks the lock, and then like falls out. Where they make it look like it's an accident where he falls out, but because his leg is tied round, he's then dangling by a chain underneath the floating cage. And it's like such an impressive stunt.
Wow,
and then he gets beat like a piñata. So it's good.
WWE is such a unique blend of like incredible stunt work and athleticism mixed with like unique absurdity.
Oh, it's
situations that you couldn't like think of. You couldn't even conceive until they do them, and then you're like, what is happening?
But so they have sneaky little villains like that, but then they have like villains like Gunther, who's like this big unbeatable German guy, like beast, who just tells everybody that they're street trash and that he's like I'm the prime example of what a wrestler should be, and you're just the performer or whatever. And he's really good. They have Solo Sikoa, who's a great villain because of how he's not that like strong, right? But he's a great villain because everybody hates him because he was like the second in command to this big villainous group. And when the leader left, he sort of took over, and he's calling himself the leader now. And everybody's like, you're not the true leader. And he's like, I will make you acknowledge me. I am the true leader. And everybody boos him. And it's great. Like you have this like so many different types of villains and dynamics that work really well. And I don't know, they do a good job. What can I say? And it's
guys, they do a good job.
And I've talked to wrestling fans who were fans of wrestling before this year, like their whole life, and a lot of them, there have been really good moments in the past, etc. Right, but there have been like periods of time where maybe it was in a slump or whatever, and a lot of people say that like currently WWE is really like it's at a peak at the moment, so it is the best time to get into it now.
Because it's only downhill from here, guys.
It's only downhill.
It can only get worse. Tune in every Monday.
Every Monday and Friday. And if you're into NXT, which is their like development brand, Tuesdays, NXT is also really good. Because it's a whole bunch of like teenagers. They're not teenagers. They're like 20-something-year-olds who are just incredibly athletic, but they don't know how to talk into a microphone. And no, they're great. They're great. Some of them are really, really good. Yeah. All right. Well, do you have anything else to say?
I don't think so.
We hit our 30-minute mark, which is what we needed. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you. I hope this convinced you to check out WWE.
Yeah. And I guess we could do like we could do a
wrestling draft.
Well, I don't know enough wrestlers to do a wrestling
draft. That's why. Yeah.
If you were to not become a wrestler yourself, because I don't think either of us. Given a decade.
I thought about this. Like, create a wrestler,
but create a wrestler. As in, like, so find someone. What are the traits that you want to put together to put
this
someone?
This is what I want. I want, and I know this is really generic for me to say, but I really, really want a wrestler. I'd call him something like the Professor. Already exists with like the Professor on YouTube and like Professor Elemental, but something like that where he's got that sort of name, like like the Professor, and he's dressed in tweed. He's got glasses on, and he's very much like a snobbish Englishman from the like the 1950s or whatever. Yeah. And or like from the 1800s. He's like a snobbish Englishman from the 1800s. And when his theme hits, it's like electro swing classical music, and he's just like, the lights come on, he's literally just sitting in a rocking chair with tea and a book, and then he puts it down to the side and he rips his shirt off and he's jacked, and he comes up and he's like, oh, jolly good shirt. Like he's proper, like, aggressively British. And he's a villain, right? Like, he's like borderline sort of being like quite problematic with some of the things he's saying about other wrestlers, because he's like an 1800s British person. And he'd just be like the perfect villain that people would hate they would love to smack him down because he's snobbish. And I like that as a concept. I really want that.
That's incredible. I love that you've thought about it already.
I already have, yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
I've already daydreamed about it, don't worry.
I would love to see that.
Okay, what about you? What would your wrestler be?
I mean, my only like fun concept I can think of is that like I really want a real life version of like a, you know, like a Jackie Chun from Dragon Ball, a Master Roshi, where it's just some fucking old guy,
like 70-year-old man, but he's just
like super fluid, like,
yeah.
You know,
there isn't.
Yeah,
so there's a guy in NXT
like
who's quite young. He's not exactly what you're talking about. But he just reminded me that I really like him, and oh god, Dante Chen. That's what he reminded me. And he's like the first Singaporean wrestler in the WWE.
Oh yeah,
and I think he's really cool, but like he's never on TV because he's still being developed. And it just gets me excited for the future of like wrestling, because they are really branching out globally to get lots of wrestlers. Because what they used to do, and again, you know, I'm not super well versed, but there used to be like wrestlers in like the 80s who were just American guys pretending to be Russian.
Yeah.
But now they have Russian, they just have they have people from all around the world, and they'll continue to do so, and it just adds this crazy variety in stuff. Because wrestling's huge in Japan, for example. New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think, is probably the third biggest wrestling thing in the world outside of AEW and WWE, and a lot of really big wrestlers come from there. A lot of non-Japanese wrestlers also wrestle there because of how big Cody Rhodes used to be in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Oh wow!
Right, and he's like the American guy now. He's like he's awesome. Captain America now. But he used to be there. It's just cool how it has this like global outreach. One of my favorite British wrestlers, who's in AEW right now, Will Ospreay, was also in Japan until quite recently. And I just think that's incredible. And I think so. One day we will have Master Roshi.
I love it. That's why I just need because I love seeing like the big dudes just slap each other across the chest a bunch of times in a row.
Yeah.
But like next one, parry it.
Yeah. Old man parries it with one finger.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Someone goes in for a punch. Bro, give me that in WWE in a live show, I would lose my mind.
I need someone who has magical powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Key blast?
Key blast? Someone do a key blast and make it believable. We have the technology to do laser blasts and stuff. They might.
I want one of the wrestlers to accidentally awaken his key. He reaches a breaking point and then like shoots a laser.
That's what I want.
I could so see that happening.
Give me someone doing a fireball.
Yeah, please.
That's all I want. Oh, that would be so good. And only one guy could do it.
Yeah,
right? And they play it so serious.
Yeah.
You know, they properly they give his backstory and the reason why he can do a Hadouken. And he just starts doing it and everybody is, you know, so into it. Like you have Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton being like, oh my god, that guy could do a fireball. I've never seen that before. and they get hit by it and they're like, ah. Have someone evaporate. I was thinking that like one day there's got to be a wrestler who's like so into wrestling and putting on a good product that they will sacrifice their own well-being for it in an extreme way. Like they will lose a finger or an eyeball or something. Do you know what I mean? Like they'll do like one of these Hell in the Cell matches and they will actually be like, you know what, in this match, actually gouge my eye out, please. I don't need it. We're gonna make this legendary.
Holy shit.
It won't happen. But
no.
They wouldn't allow it. Even if there was a wrestler who was like, please let me do it, they wouldn't let it happen.
Well, now they know what we want.
Now they know what I want.
Similar to I like the old school wrestling that you're not as familiar with, but Undertaker versus Mick Foley is a Hell in a Cell match that's like legendary from like the early 2000s, I think, where both of them during the match got really badly, seriously injured.
Yeah.
But they just carried on.
Yeah, they just do that. If they like actually injured, a lot of them finish the match.
Yeah, like it wasn't in like the script, right? It wasn't in the play-by-play. It wasn't in the story beats of the match for them to go through the roof of the cell.
Oh my god! And they just did it. That's incredible.
Like, fuck it, we're up here now.
Yeah, we're up here. Let's just do it.
I think that's right. Anyway, there's like an interview with them.
Yeah. I think I've heard of that too.
It's the most mental shit.
That's incredible.
We just need a modern day Mick Foley, a modern day Mankind, and then we'll get some more mental shit.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for listening.
That's it for us.
That's it for us. See us next time for the next Hobby Hole.
It will be soon.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.